In this video, we're going to go through the non-calc questions of the 2023 LANTITE practice. All the calculator questions will be linked in the description below. So question 16. On a 2-day walk, Tony wants to keep the mass of his full backpack to be no more than 15% of his body mass. So let's just underline that, 15% of his body mass. Tony's body mass is 80 kilograms. So we need to figure out, question 16 wants to know, what is the maximum mass Tony's full backpack could be? And we want the answer in kilograms as well. So this is where we need to use our non-calc skills for percentages. So we want to find 15% of 80 kilograms. So 15% means 15 over 100. But there's some shortcuts that we can do. We could find 10%, which is 10 over 100, which simplifies to 1/10. So to get 1/10 of 80, we just divide by 10. So to get 10% of anything, you can just divide by 10. And then to get 5%, that is half of 10%, which is 4. So if we just do 10% plus 5%, that will give us 15%, which is 12. Okay. So the maximum mass will be 12 kilograms because that is 15% of his body mass. Moving on to question 17. Samantha plans to make a cake and we've got the following times given to us. She needs to prepare, she needs to bake, so on and so forth. And then according to the recipe, how long should it take to make the cake? So the key thing we're going to need to use here is that 60 minutes equals 1 hour, because some of these times are given in minutes and some are given in hours and some there's a mixture of the two. So let's see what we can do. Okay. So we've got 35 minutes preparation. So we've got 35 minutes prep. We have got 50 minutes baking. We've got 2 hours and 15 minutes cooling, and then we've got 45 minutes decorating. So what I would do is I would add all of our minutes together to see what we have. So we've got 35 minutes plus 50 minutes plus 15 plus 45. We could do this mentally, but considering this is the non-calc, let's actually do it in column. So 5 add 0, add 5 is 15. So we put the 5 here, carry the 1. 1 plus 3 plus 5 is 9, plus another 1 is 10, plus 4 is 14. So at the moment, we've got 145 minutes. So this is the only thing I would say to be careful of, is I've added the minutes in a column, but what I don't want to do is I don't want to stick the 1 on the hours, okay? Because that would be wrong. So we've got 2 hours and 145 minutes. Which is not wrong, but the problem is that 145 minutes can be broken down into hours as well. So 145 minutes equals 60 minutes plus another 60 minutes plus another 25 minutes. So that is 2 hours and 25 minutes. Okay, so now that I've done that, let's just recap. I've got 2 hours here. And then I've just converted the 145 minutes into 2 hours and 25 minutes. So in total, 2 hours plus 2 hours and 25 minutes is going to give me option C, which is 4 hours and 25 minutes. So option C is our answer. Question 18 is to do with study load and fractions. So an equivalent full-time student load is a measure of the study load expressed as a fraction of a year when taken by a full-time student of a certain subject. For example, if subjects with a EFTSL of 0.5 would be worth half of a normal full year of study, okay? So 0.5 would be worth half of a normal full-time year of study. What fraction of a year of a full-time study is a subject with a EFTSL of 0.125? So 0.125 is one of these fractions or percentages I strongly recommend you remember. I'm just going to break it from here. 0.5 is a half, okay? So 0.5 is a half, which is also 50%. And most students that I work with know this one. They're also fine with 0.25 equaling a quarter, which is 25%. But then if we half this number here, half of 0.25 is actually 0.125. So that means it's a half, a quarter, it's 1/8, and it's also 12.5%. So try and remember 12.5% in terms of a decimal and a fraction as a little tip, because it will make things a lot quicker for you. So the answer is B, 1/8. Question 19 is regarding language at home. So we have a recent census revealed that the number of people speaking a Australian Indigenous language at home had increased from 63,754 in 2016 to 76,978 in 2021. And we want to find the closest percentage increase, kind of also like a percentage change from 2016 to 2021. However, when we look at the answers here, okay, this is a estimation question because we're not going to be able to do this without a calculator perfectly. We just have to give an estimation. So what we want to do when we're trying to find how much it's actually changed by, we want to find the difference between the two. So when we do an estimation, we're just going to round everything to thousands or hundreds, so they have more zeros in them. So that first one, I'm going to round it to 64,000 in 2016. So in 2016, that's roughly 64,000. In 2021, that is roughly 77,000. And then finding the difference between these two should be a lot easier. Okay, so 77,000 minus 64,000 is 13,000. And then we have 13,000. We're comparing 13,000 to the original amount, which was 64,000. Okay. And that would be your percentage increase when you times it by 100. But see if you can figure out how many 13s go into 64 would be my advice. So we can get rid of these zeros and simplify. Roughly how many times does 13 go into 64? Well, 13, 26, 39, 42, 65. So 13 goes into 64 roughly 5 times, which means this fraction is roughly a fifth, which means when we times it by 100, we're going to approximately get 20%. Okay, so I was actually using my fraction knowledge there and equivalents to help me out, but that is roughly 20%. Moving on to the last question, question 20. So question 20, we've got a diagram representing the metropolitan movement. It says the diagram shows the movement of 5,112 young people over 3 years. All of them were living in non-metropolitan areas in the first year of their study. But in the second year, 3% had moved to the metropolitan areas and 97% remained in non-metropolitan areas, as showed by the arrows. So this is representing my first year. So I'm just going to put first here to make it clear. And then after the first year, 97% remained, which is why this is shaded as non-metropolitan in our key, whereas 3% changed. And then we've actually got the second to the third year as well, but I would assume that's what our question is going to be about when we scroll down. So question 20 says, of the group living in non-metropolitan areas in the second year, so I'm just going to write second here, what percentage moved to the non-metropolitan areas in the third year? Okay, so if they're going from non-metropolitan to metropolitan, they should be moving from the light blue part of our bar to the white. Okay, this is a composite bar chart. So just going to highlight what arrow we should be following. So we're going from the non-metropolitan students to the metropolitan. So they're transitioning from light blue to white. So it's this arrow here, which is representing 5%. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down a bit and pull in here 5%. And there you have it. So if you found this useful, any interaction with the channel would be fantastic, and share it with those who maybe could do with the support as well. Thank you for your time and good luck for your assessment.